Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Patience and I film videos for international students to basically help them navigate life in Canada and for those intending to come to study in Canada to basically help them come to Canada easily. So if you're someone that wants to see such videos, please consider subscribing to this channel and joining this family. Now, if you're not new to this channel, you would know that there are many recent changes that have been made by the Canadian government on immigration, study permits, work permits, permanent residency, temporary residency, and stuff like that. There are basically many cuts, many changes that have been made basically to reduce the number of international students or even temporary residents or immigrants in total that will be coming to Canada or staying in Canada. And this have kind of led to visa denials and deportations and stuff like that, right? Now, even though you've gotten your study permits, right? You might be somebody that applied for a study permit and you got it. Now, this doesn't mean that you're off the hook or you need to relax. Recently, I've been hearing that yes, even though people get the study permit or the student visa, right? They still get denials after that. So basically, when you arrive in Canada, right, there's something called the port of entry. Now, this is a place where an immigration officer will basically stop you and basically just ask you questions just to see if you're truly coming to study in Canada, basically to verify who you are and verify your validity of you coming to study in Canada, right? Or whatever you're coming to do in Canada. This can apply to any immigrants coming from, their country, right, into Canada. They would always be stopped at that port of entry. Basically they'll be scrutinized, they will ask some questions and stuff like that. Now imagine this. You'll be granted study permits. You're so happy. Oh my god, yay. You've packed your bag, you said bye to your family. You've kind of left your life back in your home country. You've sold everything that you had. Basically just prepared yourself to come to Canada. And then you arrive at the port of entry and an immigration officer stops you and then gives you a denial. Just imagine this. This is a nightmare. I can't imagine it at all, right? But this has been happening to a number of people right now because of the amount of changes that have been put in place to reduce the number of immigrants in Canada. These things happen to people. I mean, they've been happening to people in the past, right? But the number of port of entry denial right now have really, really skyrocketed and increased so much, right? So in this video, I'm going to kind of address this issue, right? I'm going to tell you ways that you can avoid this port of entry denial and things to do before you actually get to that point, things to have ready, things to say, things for you to prepare before you get there to avoid any of these issues. First, let's talk about why entry denials happen. Even with valid visa or study permit, immigration officers at the port of entry can still deny a person from entering into Canada. Now, this occurs if they suspect that one, you are not coming to study in Canada. Number two, if you lack adequate financial support. Number three, if you provided inconsistent or incomplete information. And of course, worse, if somebody provided false information. Now, these are the reasons why a person can be denied entry into Canada at the port of entry. Now, I'll talk about the documents you need to carry and present at the port of entry. These documents, you must have them in the bag, have them in a separate bag in your maybe your backpack or something, or your handbag. These documents are the ones that you likely present. Now, it doesn't mean that you only carry this one, you can carry extra documents because you can't really know what they will ask you. But these documents will probably be the main ones that they will ask you. Number one is your passport, of course, with your visa. You know that visa stamp, right? The foil, of course, this one will definitely be number one. Because number one, your passport is your ID, kind of, right? Basically shows your face and everything about you. And then the passport also has a stamp, right? Where they have that foil where to talk about if you're studying or if you're working or whatever it is. This one, definitely you want to have it packed in a separate bag, right? Number two is your study permit, right? The study permit is the permit that you would get that you've been approved. They'll have the date that you're starting your program and then the date that it will expire and stuff like that. And then also you can have your statement of purpose as well. That's your SOP that you wrote, for your application. That can also be something that you can print out and have there, or your letter of explanation, right? That they might not ask it, but I would say print it out and have that as well. Number three is your letter of acceptance from the school, right? Your admission letter. Basically showing that you've been admitted to a university in Canada. So print out your letter of acceptance or admission letter. The next one is the proof of funds. You want to have your proof of funds, your bank statement, the one you use to apply for your visa, if possible. If it's recent or if it's current, print it out. They want to check basically if you're genuine, right? So if you can, have your bank statement ready. So have the printed copies of all those documents I'm mentioning and also have the digital copies as well on your phone. Sometimes you have to start looking through your bag. In that place, it looks like you are panicking and then you're nervous. Just have them on your laptop or your iPad or your phone, and also print them out as well if they ask for that, right? So, but have those things ready so that you don't have to start ruffling or rushing to your bag and it looks like you're actually now sweating and stuff like that. No. You can also have your accommodation details, right? So where you plan to stay in Canada, again, they might not ask for these things. I'm not saying that they will ask for every single thing I'm mentioning. You might just go there and they just ask you what's your name, and you say your name, and then they ask you to go, right? You can't really tell what they will ask you. But these things you basically want to have them beforehand so that it looks like you're prepared and that you're organized and that you know what you're doing. Because if you go there and they're asking you for stuff and you don't have any of them, you're like, oh, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. It's like, okay, but like you're not even serious, you're not ready, right? So if you can, print out your accommodation details, where you plan to stay. If it's a hotel, print it out. If it's with your friend, print it out. Student campus areas, or whatever it is. Now, this next one is kind of like optional, I would say. Me personally, I wouldn't really say that this is really necessary. It's basically having a return ticket. People have said that that has helped them, that they kind of had, instead of having just one way ticket, it just seems like you're running away from your country, that having a return ticket is good. Obviously, it's good, right? It's not a bad thing to have a return ticket, but it might be expensive to have that. If you cannot afford it, I would even say you should bother having a return ticket because obviously they know that you're coming here to study. Sometimes you might exceed that time that you plan to study, right? So then the return ticket is a waste because you won't use it, right? So in that case, I would just say it's optional. The return ticket is optional. If you can, just do it. If you cannot, I won't say you should bother about that, right? So basically, the return ticket is a way to show that you are going to go back to your country. It's like a family tie kind of thing, right? So if you cannot get a return ticket, so make sure you know what to say when you're asked about family tie. Make sure you have a proof or something to say. Basically, say what is on your SOP. You plan to go back to do this and to do that and stuff like that, right? So now I'll talk about the questions that they might ask you at the port of entry, right? So that you can prepare for them beforehand. Now, some questions that the visa officer might ask you is why did you choose this program? So definitely, this is where the stuff you wrote in your study permit will come out, right? Would definitely want to say those kind of things. Your study permit, you've kind of talked about it already, right? So basically just say those things and be sure about what you're saying. For example, I chose this program because it aligns with my career goal of becoming a data analyst. And the university I applied to has a strong partnership with the industry. Something like this, right? So it seems like you've thought about it. There's a reason why you chose that program, right? Not just because you want to come to Canada. And also the university that you applied to, there's a reason why you chose that university. Why Canada? Why are you coming to Canada? Why not some other country? So you must have prepared for this. Again, like I said, these questions are already in your SOP. So basically just prepare for these questions, right? So for this part, I'll put some questions that the visa officer might ask you in the description box below. I'll put a bunch of questions there that you can just go and read through and, basically prepare for these questions. This video again is to help you prepare beforehand so that you don't just go there and then you're just confused, right? These questions are things that you already know, but sometimes people get nervous, right? And then they begin to get stressed, and then it looks like they don't know what they're doing or they're lying about, they're studying in Canada, right? So preparing for them beforehand is very important. So for these questions, practice clear and concise answers to this question. It should be very short. Don't say story. Don't start talking about from beginning and when you're born. No, this is not an SOP. This is just a straight question and a straight answer. Why do you want to study in Canada? Just give them the reason why. Why this program? Give them the reason why. Why this university? Give them the reason why. Very clear and concise. Now I'll list things that might look like red flags. The first thing is lack of sufficient funds. So make sure you print out your bank statement with sufficient funds before you get to the port of entry. Another red flag would be unclear accommodation plans. Even though you cannot show like physical proof, if they ask you where you're staying, make sure you have that ready. Make sure you know what to say, right? You just don't know. You figure it out when you get there. No. Of course, you must have figured it out before you start to come to Canada, right? So basically, not having a very clear plan of where you're going to stay is a red flag. And of course, discrepancies between your application and the answers you're giving at the point of entry would look so bad. Make sure what's in your application, your SOP, your letter of acceptance, everything in your application is the same as the answers you're giving at the point of entry. They will ask you for your documents, right? And they're looking at it and then you're asking you questions, and what you're saying should be the same with what is on your application. It shouldn't be different, right? So, of course, having different answers from what you're giving them and what's on your application is a very big red flag. So, one thing I've heard is that sometimes the visa officer can ask to look at your phone or your laptop for some reason. They can ask for that. That is not against the rule, right? If they ask for that, don't panic. They might be looking for basically intent to work illegally. If you have any doubts that this person might be up to something illegal, they might ask to see your laptop or your phone, right? And if they find something there, then of course that's a problem, right? So sometimes people actually apply for study permits, right? But the plan is that they want to come here and work. And sometimes at the port of entry, those people can actually tell that this person is actually lying. So if they think that you might have a full-time job, even though you are saying you're coming here to study, then they would probably want to ask for your laptop. They might want to go through your documents or something like that just to see if you have that, right? So if they ask you to bring your laptop or your phone, do not panic, just give it to them. But of course, make sure that it's very clean. Make sure there's nothing illegal on it. I mean, why should there be something illegal anyways? But make sure you have everything properly arranged, everything is there. Whatever they ask you to open, open it. Don't panic because I mean you don't have anything to hide, right? So it's when you begin to panic or you begin to stutter, you begin to like maybe fight them, and of course it will look like you're trying to hide something, right? So if you have nothing to hide, then just give them the laptop or the phone if they ask for it. But I don't think it will get to that point. It only gets to that point if they suspect something, right? But then they won't have anything to suspect if you have everything I've talked about, everything I've said you should have. If you have everything outside, answer their questions properly, then there's no point asking for your laptop or your phone, right? So now, how do you deal with denials and misunderstanding, right? Sometimes, you might have done everything, as much as you can, but then sometimes some people might still be denied at the port of entry. Maybe the visa officer or the immigration officer might be a tough person that just wants to see to it that the person is denied or something like that. In that case, what do you do? So, first of all, if things go wrong and you are denied at the port of entry, just stay calm, right? I know it's easier said than done, but what can you do? Just stay calm. If you begin to like act up and begin to shout, of course, definitely that's a mess. Right? It's going to be worse, right? But first thing is just to stay calm, and then you can ask for a review, for a second review, or you can ask to see a supervisor for clarification. That's possible. So if you have stayed calm in the first place, then you can now do the next step by asking, okay, can I get another second opinion? Because in most cases, denials happen because of miscommunication or misunderstanding, not because somebody's trying to do something fraudulent or illegal, right? Sometimes it happens because of miscommunication, misunderstanding. So it's worth asking for a second opinion. And it might just work out well for you, right? Second opinion might actually now favor you, and then everything will go well, right? Now, what are the common mistakes to avoid? Number one is arriving too early. Students can only enter Canada 30 days before their program starts. Don't arrive too early at the port of entry. If you arrive 2 months before your program starts, it looks somehow. Then it looks like you're trying to run away from something, or you're trying to do something fraudulent, or you're coming here to work, right? You don't need to come here for 2 months before you start to, go to school, right? It just looks somehow. So don't arrive too early. Another mistake to avoid is forgetting essential documents. Make sure all the documents you need that are important, the essential ones are outside. Please, before you leave, have those things in a bag, like in a folder, and put them in your bag. The one that you can, your carry-on bag or your handbag. Just have them. Please don't forget any document. These are reasons why people actually get denied, right? Something as simple as this can get somebody denied, right? Another mistake people make is not knowing their program details or funding sources. Some people have scholarships and they ask them what's your scholarship or your funding source, they don't know. Like it looks somehow, like who is funding you, you don't know. No, it looks somehow, right? Or if they ask you your program details, what's your program about? What's the school you're going to? What courses are you going to take? I mean, you might not know all of the courses you're taking, but you should know some of them, right? You should know the university, of course, you're going to, right? You might even check for the name of your professors as well. Check the school's program, like check the department courses, what the department is offering. Just basically show that you've done your research, because they might ask you some things. They might ask you your project. What's the name of the project you're going to do? What field are you doing? What's your area of expertise? What's your career goal? Those kind of questions they might ask you. So if you don't know those things, it looks somehow, right? You can't just say, I'm just going to go and do one program. Okay, but what's it about, right? So these are the mistakes that people are making. And then it makes them look like they are not serious or they don't know what they're doing, right? So to avoid these mistakes, basically have all of the things I've mentioned in this video. Prepare for the questions I've talked about. Again, check the description box for the total list of the questions that they might ask you. Of course, these are not all the questions they might ask you, right? There might be more, but these ones I will list are the common questions that they might ask you at the airport. And again, they might not even ask you anything. There are many people that say that they just went there, hi, what's your name? How are you doing? How was your day? That's it. And then they go, right? So you can't really tell what they ask you. Just basically don't be nervous. Once you get there, just be relaxed. Don't think about the bad stories you've heard from people. Sometimes people use the negative things they've heard to go and now begin to act that way. and then it now ends up being bad for them because they're going there with fear in their mind. Then it now begins to affect them. For me, when I came to Canada, I didn't even know that that was something that was a thing. I didn't know that they could deny somebody at the port of entry. In my mind, I already came to Canada. I'm already come to Canada. It was later I heard that people actually could be deported at the point of entry. I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. But I went there, I was so free. I didn't even think about it. I can't remember what they asked me, honestly. But it was so easy. It was very, very fast. But for some people, they took a while. They had to now ask them for many things. So you can't tell what they would ask, basically, right? Just basically be very free. Don't be nervous. Be open, and everything will be fine. The key to a smooth entry to Canada is preparation, consistency, and confidence. Once you have these three things, you'll be fine. All right. So if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share this video to as many that might need this video. And of course, if you want more tips of studying in Canada, hit the subscribe button so you can join this family and you can get more videos like this. All right. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.